you set out to make content with the goal of just general virality, this idea of people liking you or money, your content's going to suck. And maybe you can do it, but you're not going to be happy. So starting from a position of what do I like to make that resonates with other people, that was the goal.
If you hate homework, don't be an NBA broadcaster, because all day I do homework.
If you wanted to get into the media world, you had to write for one of the biggest publications. You had to get onto one of the biggest networks if you wanted to have a job in sports media. But now that's not the case at all.
How do I go to a national audience? Why would someone in California care about something going on in South Carolina?
Ultimately, I think if you're just you and like truly authentically you, people crave that.
The best advice you can ever get is just start.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Holden Conversations. Today's guest is someone I was connected with by former podcast guest Bladen Kirk. He's got nearly 250,000 followers on his TikTok, but you may know him best from his song about Cooper Dejean that made it all the way to Cooper Dejean. Peter Kriebel, aka Pete Takes, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, happy to be here, Holden.
So I got to ask you the Cooper Dejean stuff first.
Go.
What was it like to kind of make something that went so viral when it wasn't even your direct content per se?
He's just a corner and we'll lock down your number one.
Yeah, I mean, I peaked. That's all I can say. Like, it doesn't really, the ceiling for NFL content on TikTok specifically is generally pretty firm. And you know, whether you're reviewing a game or some film or whatever it is, it's hard to really break through that into more of like general virality. So that was the biggest difference with that song. I mean, a lot of people who aren't even big football fans know it because it sort of took on a life of its own. Like, it became a meme. So that was unique. And I don't, you know, with my current vein of content, probably will never top it. You know, it's so that's just something I got to be comfortable with, is peaking at 19 years old.
With that attitude, maybe.
Yeah. Sorry, you never know. Maybe Zach Charbonnet or something will trigger a song in my mind, and that will beat it. But I don't know.
But it's kind of funny you say that, though, because there are levels to virality. I feel like 10 years ago, let alone 5 years ago, definitely in the pre-COVID world, saying, hey, I got 5 million views on a video has a different tone and a different little financial impact than it does now, or at least a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I don't know. I mean, virality, is it really viral, right? Is it this 6'7" kid or whatever? No, it wasn't that. But it was more like, you know, I describe myself as like a niche internet content celebrity. So like, you know, if you follow football and you're on a certain like irreverent football corner of the internet, then maybe you know who I am. That one was like people who just like the Eagles or just in Philadelphia or even beyond, you know, he had a certain following. And so, yeah, it's like the next level of whether you want to call it virality or just, you know, gross views that is atypical from what I normally post.
What was your reaction when you saw that he saw the video and he was talking about it with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Eagles former defensive back?
Yeah, so I got a DM from a friend of mine. Oh, check Eagles, you know, Instagram, whatever it is, and I'm like, well, I know what this is going to be. So, at least generally, I didn't expect to see, you know, CD Deuce singing it to him, but you know, it's kind of surreal, kind of funny, and just like the first time I've made a video that has, you know, transcended that internet to real life, especially NFL boundary. Yeah. Like singing it on the sideline of a game is not. It was never anticipated.
Do some people actually think you were serious when you said that you deserve a ring?
Dude, I do. I do deserve a ring.
Okay, I was not expecting you to say that.
Yes, bro. All right. So, Holden, are you a trivia head? Are you a football nerd, a football historian? I'm gonna need you to tell me the last time a rookie had a pick six in the Super Bowl.
I'm a football fan, but I hate the Eagles, so I
Yeah.
don't.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
It doesn't happen every year. Okay, so you can tell me it's coincidence, right? But all I'm saying is the song was made, a player was clearly emboldened, and I don't think it's wrong to ask Howie and others to carve me a ring. Send it my way. I'm still accepting it. If Howie is tuning in.
Are you an Eagles fan?
No, I'm a Ravens fan. But that's beside the point, Holden. It doesn't matter what I am, right? It's what I made. And I emboldened Cooper Dejean. People think I'm kidding when I say that. No, I'm dead serious.
I was not expecting that answer. I love the moxie. I love the moxie. Now this is going to be a weird transition too after what you just said, but I wanted to talk about humility actually.
Oh, well, this is great.
I know.
I am the most humble, Holden. You've never seen humility like this.
And by the way, keep in mind, for the first 10 minutes we were trying to talk to each other, we couldn't because the connection was so bad. So I feel even fresher talking to Peter than a lot of my other guests.
Good. You don't even know who you're talking to right now.
Clearly not. No, but with humility, whether it's you making stuff like the Drake May song, the Cooper DeJean song, or you trying to simulate an NFL pass, which I know you've been working on recently, what does that do to your content, not only for yourself, but also for the consumers?
Yeah. I mean, as far as consumers are concerned, it's like my main goal is to make content that people like. And ideally, it aligns with things I like to make. And to this point, that's been true. I don't really make anything that I don't enjoy. And I guess people talk about like, some of their creativity being stripped, and some of that is true. Like when you succeed in content, you have to kind of tend to it, right? So like my game recaps, I'm not reinventing the wheel. Like that's very much bread and butter. I can do that almost with my eyes closed at this point, just because I've done it so many times. So that's not like, you know, like lighting my creative fire the way the YouTube video where I'm simulating NFL passes. But ultimately, it's like people who like my content have a good idea of what it is that I make, and I make what I do because I like it.
Is that kind of cool to know that you're a junior in college and that there is a level of expectation for people's feeds that they expect you on it in a certain way?
Yeah. I mean, I think outside of even just any age factor, it's like people like what it is you have to say or make. And I mean, that should be humbling. Uh, I know I kind of cornered myself with that humility thing, but uh, no, like it's surreal. Like I think at some point, if we're going, sort of a different discussion, I think people are going to kind of wake up here and see just how much time they're spending on their phones and on this content. But whether people are numb to how much time they're spending or not, they are still choosing, my voice and my content to fill their days. So that's you should, I don't know, take some responsibility and pride with that.
You do a good job of balancing your opinions versus giving information. What
Hmm.
is your kind of your calculus with that? I feel like there's a very thin line.
Yeah, that's 2 years of high school journalism and then writing 2 years for the college paper. And my mom was a journalist up until recently. She retired from the Washington Post.
Congrats.
So yeah. So lots of sourdough bread being made around here. But she, I mean, just you take these classes and you learn what it is to, write a nut graph and how that's different from, an opinion piece or whatever it is. And that's a line that gets blurred a lot, even by major networks and things like that. So as stupid as or silly as NFL content is, especially the vein of content that I make, you still have to uphold some journalistic integrity, and those are kind of ingrained in me. I have sort of a old man soapbox take that everyone should at least be familiar with some of these principles, because it affects it. Like, once you actually understand what a good story is, and what it looks like to have these principles respected, then you can cut through a lot of the bullshit that's out there that you see every day on your feed.
So I was not expecting that. So you come from a traditional journalism background, but at the same time, I don't want to call it untraditional, but you make modern day media, but a lot
It's
of it,
entertainment.
yeah,
It's
it's
not journalism.
entertainment,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is informing. Like, you're doing game recaps, you're doing what they do on Sports Center. So there is a level of like you breaking information to people, whether you want it or not.
Yeah. I mean, definitely some of that. Also, so you will be surprised what these athletes see. Like, or how cognizant they are of their image. Like, if you post something out there with their name on it, certain guys, there's just so much noise around them that they won't see it, but they'll see a lot of it. And you hear it from enough people who have been, confronted or whatever. Like, from a moral perspective, you can't just say whatever you want about these guys. Like, you have to have some, human decency and respect. Uh, and also, just strategically, like, you can't go and hurt your image. So yeah, like, understanding what it is that I do and respecting it as entertainment and not pretending to be something else is important to me, until it is that I'm doing that something else, right? If it ever was the more serious, buttoned up uh operation, like, you don't want to have ruined your image by pretending to be something you're not.
Do you want to share who any of those athletes are that you might be alluding to?
No, but, well, I'm not active. I'm not active on Twitter. But I was just messing around with whatever, either a burner account or whatever, at Jets training camp a couple years ago, and posted some video of Brees Hall making a nice catch and put a little caption. And sure enough, later that day, my Know Nothing, Twitter account has a like from Brees Hall on it. And you see it also. I mean, I work closely enough with uh, college athletes at UVA, and yeah, like, guys and girls care about their image. And it's not hard to search your name on Twitter or TikTok or anything like that, and see some results. And we're very separated from seeing these people as humans sometimes. But a lot of them Google themselves like any of us would.
A lot of ways, it's just kind of like reflection of the 2026. Gosh, I don't know why I can say 2026, but it is 2026. It's just a reflection of the media space now, where like everyone has a voice.
Yes, for better or worse.
Yeah, no, for better or worse. But it also enables people like you who are just naturally passionate to say, "Hey, I love football. I want to talk about whatever I want," and it puts you in this spot.
Yeah, so I mean, that's really, really cool, right? Especially, I mean, you think about just making it. I mean, I never set out to make money. I never set out with the intention of monetizing the account specifically. I looked at it as something that is, okay, I'll get reps on camera. I'll show my ability to be a digital storyteller. Ugh, I just threw up in my mouth. And then, get picked up by Bleacher Report or whatever it is. And then eventually, I can eat. But to actually have the account paying my bills, it's kind of surreal, right? That was never the goal when I set out to do it, which is sort of important, right? Like, if you set out to make content with the goal of just general virality, this idea of people liking you or money, your content's going to suck. And maybe you can do it, but you're not going to be happy. So, starting from a position of, what do I like to make that resonates with other people, that was the goal. So, the fact that money ever entered the equation in the current structure of TikTok is kind of, it was secondary, but welcomed.
How do you, not just from a goal perspective, but from a literal time perspective, how did you continue to kind of grow and build without
Yeah.
overwhelming yourself? Because what takes you 20 minutes now probably took you 2 hours before, or you couldn't even do it.
Yes, I mean there's definitely some truth to that. I'll be so I've been making videos since junior year of high school. So that's coming up on 4 years now, which is kind of crazy to say. I'm still using the same microphone that I did then. So I have the whatever Shure SM7B, and that's a really nice fancy microphone, and you thread it in through a mixer and then into the MacBook, and you have lighting and cameras and all that stuff. Most of what I make on my account is done with a $60 microphone to this day, and a USB-C converter, a dock, and that's it. So while it's true that as you get better, you get faster, you get better gear, like it just, does have this kind of compounding effect. A lot of what I do, I had the ability to make at any time with a $60 microphone. Um, so really the biggest thing, I mean, you mentioned goal setting, is like, all right, I've been doing this for 4 years. I've really think the channel's really grown, or the account's really grown in the past two. Scaling is always a question, but it's also about making work that's more rewarding. Like TikTok, the cool thing about it is that anyone can do it, and all they have to do is set aside whatever it is, an hour, 2 hours of their day, depending on whatever their technical proficiency. The downside of that is that there are sort of diminishing returns, as far as if I pour in a ton of work onto a video and I take a week to post it, maybe it'll do better. You would hope it would, but that's no guarantee that it will. And sort of the way it's structured is they like consistency, and it benefits you to make content that's like sort of identifiable within what the algorithm perceives you to be in your space. So my point is that you set aside 2 hours a day and you can do that, and it's awesome, and it's a low barrier to entry, but the actual creative payoff is not the same as, say, a YouTube video, or let alone, a movie or something like that, or writing a book. Like, it's not quite the same level of achievement. It's sort of a different gamified, but still like content driven thing. So it's sort of its own thing, and it's new, rough, for me at some level, but I don't know, like as far as setting goals, landing in something that is like a little bit more of a creative payoff would probably be the end goal.
But at the same time, if you spend 10 days making a video and you typically spend 2 hours making a video, could you argue that that's actually an investment? And it's not about how many views you get on that one video that took you 10 days, but it's the skills you're learning from it. And so
Yeah.
like that can kind of extrapolate.
Yes, I mean, it's totally real, and there are people who make art on TikTok and all kinds of really involved and in-depth things, and they have huge followings that are bigger than mine. What I do, and as you know, I mean, timeliness is a huge factor within sports. And so if I spend 10 days working on this beautiful film breakdown of Geno Smith, no one cares what he did 10
Yeah.
days ago. So for sports specifically, you have this fast turnaround, and it's a trade-off in between the quality of your content and the time that you get it out. And there's this finite sort of window where you can satisfy both. And so people who do well in the TikTok sports space are in that window. But like I said, it's sort of nice to really like pour into something and then have a finalized product that is just better than what you can do in 2 hours or whatever it is.
This is why you publish podcasts where you interview people, so you don't have to feel beholden to a 16-game slate,
Yes.
which like you do every
Evergreen
Sunday.
content. Evergreen content is awesome.
And-
I love this.
But yeah, no, especially for you in the football world, assuming it's a normal week, there's like 16 games on a weekend, and you have so little time because before you know it, Colin Cowherd already has his podcast up. Blading Kirk and Stay Hot already has their stuff up. There's such a small world where you can get your content and for it to be unique and timely.
Yeah. And a lot of that is like, all right, you can try to manufacture it and think about it and go in saying, okay, here's when Bladen publishes, here's when Colin publishes, and I'm going to exist here and I'm going to do this certain thing. But a lot of time, the hesitation that you have trying to figure out what it is that you're going to do is wasted. Just start making things you like, and you'll be surprised where that leads you. Because I didn't plan to have this structure. You just fall into it. You figure out what you're good at. It's very empirical, and like, this video did well, this one did not. Maybe you really enjoy making the one that didn't do so well, right? That was more of your creative stroke, and I've definitely felt that before. But it's hard to walk away from success and sort of what you are defined as by the algorithm. And so, like, you can really plan to be one thing, but you kind of just got to make what you like and hope that there's an audience for it. And usually there is.
How do you make sure that it's not like a gut to your self-worth per se? Do you know Tyler Webb?
Yes, yeah, I know him pretty well.
Oh, he's also a former podcast guest. So we're building the TikTok space up on the pod.
Yeah.
He was talking to me, and obviously he's a full-time content creator, and you're in college. But he said to me that, look, if I do great on a video, I feel like I can retire early. If I do bad, I feel like I have to file for unemployment and I'm bankrupt. So how do you kind of keep that mentality, not just from a financial one because you're in college, but also from a self-worth one, where it's like, hey, this video may have done good, but it was not my best work that I know of.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I spent a lot of work on this and it didn't pan out the way I wanted to.
I mean, you macro view, if you tie up who you are and your self-worth in what you do, which most of us probably do,
Yeah.
you're sort of setting yourself up for failure. Like, you have to exist outside of your occupation. And you hear from enough people, I mean, athletes is a big one, right? An athlete is whatever, you're a star player in high school, you go on to college, you get drafted, and then there's sort of this void because what you've done since the time that you were a kid is taken away from you when you retire. And post-career lulls or depression are very real among athletes, and so it's true across occupations. Like, if you are only as good as the last video you made, maybe make good videos, but also maybe I don't know, try to recognize that you're a human outside of that. For me specifically, I sort of recognize that I'm playing with house money at this point, in that, like, I never expected to make money on this, and I don't feel like I have to do it per se, at this point. Like, if I wasn't happy all of a sudden doing this, I would hope that I would have the presence of mind to walk away and recognize that, you can apply yourself in any area and work hard and succeed and find something that's fulfilling, right? Like, if your definition of success is views or the money you make, and one outlet isn't doing that for you, maybe think about doing another. If you just have a certain, I don't know, less definable quantitative measure of your success, then you got to do some soul searching and figure out if you want to join the Peace Corps or something like that.
Well, and also keeping this attitude of like, hey, this is all house money probably helps you keep it fun still.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big part of it. Like, I'm a human. I have bad days, right? I have the Ravens lose. They've lost a lot this year, Holden. And so do I want to be joking all the time right after they lose? No, right? And I mean, that's sort of a joke. Like, there are worse things, believe it or not, that can happen in a person's life than a football game. But maybe you get a 50 on a financial theory of financial markets midterm. That can happen too.
Hey, I got a 46 on my finance final.
So
I passed the class though.
Yeah, hey, that's good. That's all you can hope for.
C's get degrees.
Yeah. So if that gets you down, then sometimes I'm like, well, what the did I make myself the funny guy, right? Why do I have to be funny today? You can get in that way, but it's also like it's it's a privilege to do what I do. I am lucky, and also just you know I shouldn't say lucky, but I'm fortunate to make fun sports videos. And a lot of times it's kind of nice to, okay, a bad thing happens, but then here I am sort of on a scheduled time to do what it is I like. And I rarely finish a video and am thinking about anything but that video, right? Like it sort of takes you away from it. And if you're making jokes, then maybe you're laughing, and it's yeah, I don't know. I'm grateful, I guess, for it.
That's a
Long-winded.
very healthy way to deal with things that you're stressed about too. Saying, "Hey,
Yeah,
I have this thing that I'm passionate about." It's not like, "Oh, I'm going to go and uh, do drugs or drink or something like that." Like you're saying, "Hey,
yeah,
like I have something that I'm working for that I love, and that all it does is bring good to people and myself." Like that has to be a great way to cope with anything.
yeah. It's great insight into my psyche there, Holden. But I, yeah, it's cool, and I, I don't know. It's sort of like when your cat dies, you still have to go to work the next day, and so it sort of has that effect, except you don't hate your job. So it's like a scheduled time to think about something else, uh, and so it sort of keeps you from ever, I guess, doing drugs and whatever it was
No,
that you
I
did
mean that
acting.
seriously though. I mean that seriously though.
Yeah,
And that's what a lot of people, especially we're both college kids. A lot of people will go to those things when they're stressed. Um, it's
yeah,
just an unfortunate truth.
yeah. TikTok is my substance abuse.
Hey, there's much worse. And
Yeah.
making TikTok videos is your substance abuse, actually.
Yes. True. True. True.
How do you kind of stay in your own box? You make NFL content, and again, because you have this platform, your objectives in your world may be different than the standards of society. So, for example, and tell me if I'm wrong, if you get a 51 on a test, it has a different connotation than someone else because your eggs and your lottery tickets, I like to call them, for your career path. And I don't want to say your life. It's, I've only known you for 40 minutes on Zoom, but uh, you have a lot of different routes and lanes. How do you kind of stay in your own world when it comes to everything holistically?
Yeah. I mean, I guess from a comparison perspective, right? It's easy to say, okay, I bombed it, but I bet they're not doing as much as I am or whatever. But that's sort of selfish and not really gonna, in long term, I don't know, really
But you're the one
be
who
a
said
source
that
of
you need
happiness.
an Eagles Super Bowl ring.
I do need an Eagles Super Bowl. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like at the end of the day, it's sort of a question of comparison, and I feel like you can't really get too caught up in that. Like I'll say one thing it's done for me, right? Is all right. I mentioned I was half kidding about the 50. It was actually maybe a 63 or something like that
I wasn't kidding
on
when I
my.
said I got a 46.
Yeah, well, I
It
appreciate
was
that.
curved though. It was curved.
Like, yeah, solidarity. But I'm not a finance major, but sort of having the TikTok and having it do well, I feel like this last semester it kind of allowed me to just take a step back and say, okay, I'm going to take a 4,000 level econ class. I might not do super well on it, but I'll learn a lot. It'll be applicable. And so it's sort of allowed me to have like an old school generalist approach to college as a whole, where if a class interests me, I can take it without having to, at least for the time being, worry like, oh, I'm on this specific track. I need to do this, this, and this. Because like when you're making content and you're in any kind of creative field, like you want to be exposed to different things. Like a mean variance diagram, right, might not directly help you, but it might kind of give you an idea about something else. And you just never really know the kind of connections that your brain will make. And so just sort of having a general approach to education, I think has helped me in my content.
Well, and it's also kind of like you never know, like you said, where the side passions or moments where you're actively listening can kind of take you and how it can relate to things.
Exactly. I mean, I took an acting class this last semester.
That's awesome.
It was great. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, and not that I am planning on hitting Hollywood anytime soon, but it was just like a good time to have someone tell you what to do with your hands or not tell you or whatever it is, and just like it's all very applicable to what we do. Um, and even if you don't know it right away, down the road you might make a connection that you never expected.
And also, you get to learn how to do things you don't want to do a lot of the time. And a lot of,
Yes.
I'm assuming you love making content, like you said, but there are parts of it you probably don't like everything in life. There are things that we all don't like in certain parts of our lives, even if we like them holistically.
Yeah, I mean the systems stay the same, right? Like video editing stays the same. Making sure your audio is peaking between -6 and -12 decibels doesn't change, but you still need to know how to do it. And so those parts like that you've done a million times kind of go on autopilot,
Yeah.
and that's when you can think about other things. But yeah, like I mean it's like anything. Even if you've done it a million times, like the work still has to get done.
How do you divide your time between being a student and making content with a large following? I already see your
Mm.
face. For all of
Yeah, well,
all my video
all right.
listeners, his face there was priceless.
Okay. The 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 classes I take depend, right? So some classes get more attention than others. Acting doesn't need a lot of attention, right? I didn't feel like I was falling super far behind in acting. I think I finished with an A, maybe an A minus. Um, Theory of financial markets, I wanted to learn. I did, right? I mean, and I did learn a lot of things in that class. But at the same time, there are points where it's like you can't have the same depth of understanding of someone who's taken all of the prerequisites, who is really like it's very important to them that they receive a really good grade on this class because they're a finance major, whatever it is. Like you have to kind of recognize like uh, I mean, it's very getting into college and then even within college, credentialism is a big part of it, right? Like you want to have tangible proof that you can do your job. Um, so kind of being vulnerable and saying like it's not possible to totally do this to the same degree as someone else and being comfortable getting that B minus or whatever it is, but still learning, um, is like something I had to get used to, right? Like so I don't know. It's impossible to really balance everything, and I think you learn that as you take on more things, right? And so knowing what to cut loose and knowing what to keep on and recognizing when you have to like allocate more or less, that's just it's your cost benefit analysis. What makes sense for you? For me, it's hard to walk away from a recap that I do, right? And that's
Yeah.
gonna that like a recap that I finish at 2 a.m. is gonna make my finance class harder the next morning. It just is. But for me, it's worth it because of the general plan or idea I have for my life. And so it doesn't mean I don't do anything but
Yeah.
that, right? I'm still gonna go to class, but I might not perform as well. And so being comfortable with that and recognizing why it is and making sure that I'm putting the work in and saying like I got a grade that is reasonable for the amount of work I put in. Don't expect to do more and don't allow yourself to do less. Just do what you can do.
And it forces you kind of to have like a holistic approach where it's like, hey, I may have gotten a B minus, but considering my life, I learned so much. And it has
Yeah.
to sometimes be less about the grade and more the lessons that you took away from it or the concepts that you now understand that you didn't 4 months ago.
Yeah. And I mean, it's sort of a bet on yourself as far as like I sort of tend to think that this has opened more doors for me than a lot of other things would have, right? And I mean, not to harsh a finance major at all, because they, from what I understand, do okay in life. But it's like I don't think that was ever me. I don't
Yeah.
think I was ever meant to do that, and I don't think I would be as good as people who are meant to do that, right? Like I think we have this idea of people who are very good at what they do whether they're, an Olympic bodybuilder, or is that an Olympic sport? I don't even know.
No
Um,
idea.
yeah. Um, but very successful people a lot of times aren't if I put myself in like the best basketball players, Jordan or whatever it is, and I look at his success, I wouldn't want to do that, right? The same way, like, and I'm not the Michael Jordan of TikTok, but like,
Not yet.
yeah, but like I enjoy what it is I do. I think Jordan enjoyed seeing progress in basketball, you
Yeah.
know? Uh and so everyone kind of has their vein of what interests them, and I think the people who get really good at what they do are the ones who like what it is that they're good at. And they're not like trudging away on something that doesn't interest them. And of course, like there's still sacrifice. Like, do people want to be in the gym as much as they are? Maybe not, but like generally speaking, I think those like real luminaries in their field are like they enjoy it at some level.
And there's something to say about kind of getting like lost in the sauce or being in the trenches, whatever the saying you want to go with is, because you're in your own world too. And like we were talking about earlier, it kind of gives you a more narrow-minded focus, and you can focus on what matters most to you.
Yeah, I mean, I will disappear video editing and not really know it, right? Like go into sort of flow state there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it is. Like people who can't miss in basketball, I think are in the same state of when I'm sitting at the computer and I'm thinking
Yeah.
about this, and it's just like you look up and 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours have gone by. So yeah, it is sort of like otherworldly in that way, right? And like when you're really grinding, like it's not the same feeling I would have if I was balancing a rate sheet or whatever it is. Like it's just sort of it's work, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels more like a game.
You have to kind of be like a marathon runner, because you
Yeah.
can't, like, if you're thinking about how to run for 4 hours, if you takes you 4 hours to run a marathon or 5 hours, if you're not going to get to that point, like you have to be in some level of flow state where you can't be thinking about every intricate detail at every moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's dark and it's very different, but like when if you've ever read Night by I'm gonna butcher the name, but anyway, it's the Elie Wiesel. Anyway, it's a book about the
Oh,
Holocaust.
yes,
And
yes,
it's
I know that book. Yes.
yeah, and so it's like there's a line that like the people who could handle the death march and things like that were the ones who can disappear into their imagination. And so I'm not comparing my work to a Nazi death march,
Yes.
but it's like sort of that escapism. Like it just is different for different people. Like some people get really into pottery, and
Yeah,
they're just in their element and they're not it's perceiving time. Like it's just it's different for everyone, and when you find it, it's cool. And the idea that I can monetize that is pretty surreal.
for sure. I mean, it, it's kind of like a full circle patient approach, like you were kind of getting to. I want to go back a little bit, talking about sacrifice. You kind of hinted on it. What are some of the biggest sacrifices you've had to make for your life?
Hmm.
Considering that you're a college student, I'm assuming that you like to socialize too, and among other things, like how do you allocate that all? Because especially on Sundays.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. There's not much I'd rather be doing than watching football on Sundays.
That's a good
I
point.
am
I
first
framed
and
that
foremost.
poorly.
First and foremost, I do love some NFL football, and that's why I do what I do. Like if I didn't feel that way, like if I'd rather be at a mixer, right? Oh, what's your major? Where are you from? Whatever on a
Yeah,
Sunday, then I wouldn't probably be making content.
for sure.
Um, but yeah, like I mean, actual sacrifice, sleep, is a big one. Like I'm on East Coast time, so you finish the game ends at 11:15. I have it up by 2. Who knows when class is the next day or whatever else. So there are a million things that can happen in your life, and I mean you're always sacrificing something, right? If it's sleep, then it might be physical fitness too, right? Or it might be social, right? You don't want to see a friend or something like that because you're just not feeling up to it or whatever. So there are times where I've sacrificed TikTok, right? Like if I'm with a group of friends who I don't get to see very often, and to me it's worth it, that this night is worth whatever I would make by posting this video, then that's a sacrifice. So like I think recognizing that like they're all related, right? And whatever you decide to put more into is also taking away from something else. Like it's a zero sum game.
Yeah.
And so you sort of have to categorize your life pillars as you see fit and figure out what you need to be giving more to at that specific point in your life. And for me, to this point, right, like I have a goal that I've had for a long time. And so certain things I'm willing to sacrifice and others I wouldn't.
What would you say that goal is?
I mean, to make things that I like and that will provide for myself and my eventual family. Like I wanna enjoy my job. I wanna feel good at my job. And I wanna make something and just have a body of work that resonates with people or people appreciate or helps people. That was a lot of people. But it was it's just like make something that I'm proud of and I enjoy and also be able to live a life that I have wanted to.
Very wholesome. I like that.
Thanks.
Just a few more questions here. We just talked about your long-term future, but what's next? You're a junior in college. Are you looking to be your own boss in a couple years? Like what's coming up the corner for Mr. Peter?
I don't know. One day at a time, right? Just kind of keep making what works. Keep thinking about what I want to do, and say yes to opportunities that make sense. Um, and I don't know. I mean, this is sort of that house money thing. Like I don't for a little while anyway. Like really need to like I'm still kind of figuring out what it is that I want to do specifically. I have a pretty good idea of what I'm what I'm good at, like sort of general idea. Um, and so just like being open to a lot of things, being able to say yes and no, and just sort of trying to narrow things down to something that really aligns with I don't know the things that I like to do and the things that I think are worthwhile and valuable and good. So I don't know. There's a very vague answer, but just like sort of still doing what I'm doing, keep my eye on the future, and being open to anything.
Well, and also at the very least, when you have a platform of nearly 250,000 followers on one app, one account, it gives you options. Like let's say for all of a sudden you do want to make pottery content. Now, obviously, your next video probably can't be that, but you do have a following. It
Yeah,
like
this is true. I and that's to say, I mean, maybe these guys come in on something with me, right? 250,000. That's a
yeah,
sizable army, I
yeah,
think. So
literally, yeah.
if we mobilize that, right? I mean, we get a real world meetup. We could probably capture a small country. So we might just sort of encroach on a neighboring country's sovereignty and kind of set up the nation of Pete takes. So there's that
And
humility again for you.
I need to make like a no context Holden Conversations clip thing, and that
Yeah,
has to go in there.
yeah. If that's the only clip you post, that'll do. I will
Maybe,
not complain.
maybe. This is my last question I like to ask all my guests. And so I am not making money yet. Hopefully I will one day. But this I want to be my first sponsored segment. What is advice you would give to yourself 4 years ago when you were junior in high school when you're starting your content journey that you know now?
Make what you like, but don't let that be the only thing that you care about. Like, I'm not saying I did, but it's just there's a lot of other things that are a lot more important than this. And so I I don't know, like getting what you want doesn't like inherently make you happy. And but you sort of have to get there to know that, if that makes sense. So like I wanted a following, right? I wanted to have people care about what I thought about professional football. It's kind of weird when you think about it. Like, well, why would someone really be interested in that? But I was, right? I was a lunch table know-it-all, right? I liked the feeling of being right. I liked the feeling of people thinking that I had insightful things to say. And so here is this way to quantify that, right? And it's competitive and everything like that. And you get there and like, and not that I'm like I said, like, all right, TikTok following, like people get hundreds of thousands on like random things, right? I'm not sitting here and like, oh, like, wow, what a great achievement. But it's like it was a goal, right? It was my clearest goal for a while, and most consistently poured into goal. But then it's like your definition of success is always just a little bit further away. Um, and so it's like you kind of have to be true to who you are and make sure that you're making things you like, because ultimately it is the process that's going to bring you joy, never like any destination.
I hear that from a lot of content creators. The constant goalpost moving.
Yeah, which is good. Like, I mean, you shouldn't just rest on your laurels as a TikTok creator. I mean, come on. But uh like it's sort of a dumb idea we have of like you're gonna reach a point and then that'll be it. Like that's the goal. Like the goal is never reached. And that's sort of just, I think, ingrained into the way humans think and operate.
You want to drop your socials?
At Pete Takes on TikTok, at Pete Takes IG on Instagram, and I think it's Pete Takes on YouTube. You'll find it.
Thank you so much for your time today, Pete.
Of course. Thank you, Holden.
Thank you all for watching another episode of Holden Conversations. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow Holden Conversations on Instagram for exclusive Instagram content. Until next time, everyone.